Today, we're at Dream Park Equestrian Center in Gloucester County, New Jersey. It's the temporary home for Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy, a nonprofit that teaches young people horsemanship. These show horses are the fabric of a deeply rooted history of Black cowboy culture here in Philly. And on Saturday, October 11th, at the Leacourt Center in North Philly, we'll be able to see culture, community, and the craftsmanship of a concrete rodeo, the 8 Seconds Rodeo. It's Thursday, October 9th. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's how Philly puts on a rodeo.
Ivan McClellan. I am the founder and CEO of the 8 Seconds Rodeo.
My name is Erin Brown. I'm known as the Concrete Cowgirl. I am the director of Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy.
So who's biting you right now? Who is this?
That is Duke.
Where are we right now?
We are at Dream Park, which the name explains the facility, but it's a big show facility. Our new barn is being built off of 33rd and Oxford. So hopefully within the next few months, we'll be back in Philly.
I was thinking, a lot of Philadelphians, sometimes we see people riding horses at a block party or a festival, but not a lot of rodeos. So Ivan, why bring the 8 Second Rodeo here? And why are you bringing a black rodeo to North Philly?
Yeah, it's a great question. I moved here last year, so I hang my hat in Chester County, and we were trying to figure out where to take the rodeo in 2025 and 2026. And I was like, I'm here. There's a lot of black folks here. Let's do it. It was a very easy decision. I know that there's already a thriving horse culture here in the black community. I know that it's been here for a long time, and just to elevate that and celebrate it. And we've got athletes from right here in Philly competing in the rodeo. So it's just a town that's got a lot of grit. It's a town that's got a lot of history, a lot of soul, and putting the rodeo here just made a lot of sense to us. It was a super easy decision. This is the 5th or 6th biggest city in the United States, one of the biggest black populations of any city in America. And we're gonna throw down and have a great time and make it a Philly event. That's the thing about it is people are like, oh, thank y'all for coming to town. And I was like, we're not coming to town. We're building the rodeo here. We've got the Enon Tabernacle Choir singing the Black National Anthem to start the show. Reverend Waller is going to give the invocation. We're going to give them 10 minutes to do their thing and bring the spirit into the room. We've got the West Powelton Steppers and Drum Squad performing at the rodeo. It's very much a Philly thing. We got some Eagles players coming. It's just imbued with the spirit and the soul of the city through and through.
What's Philly's cowboy culture like now?
Cowboy culture in Philly, it's been something here over hundreds of years. So there was produce delivered by horse and wagon, and there was laundry services right off of Fletcher Street and then 26th Street.
And this is Strawberry Mansion.
That is the Strawberry Mansion section. That's actually where I started riding in the early 90s. So I think back then we had maybe 40 or 50 different barns in Philly, so that were just black folks. And I want to say over a couple hundreds of people. So we would have big rides. And now with redevelopment and gentrification, the numbers are much smaller, but it's still a heavy presence in Philadelphia.
How did Philly get its cowboy culture?
It's in our DNA. And the people who delivered the milk and produce in Philly from Fletcher Street back in the day, once the modern vehicles took over, they still kept their horses and the love for horses. So I think it just stuck that way. So, and horsemanship, and it's a therapy. And it's not something you would see in the inner city so often, but it happens around the world, not just Philly.
So, Ivan, you took a photo project, the 8-second project, which was a photo series of Black cowboy culture, and you made it into a rodeo, which happened in Portland earlier this year. How did that evolve?
You know, I was sitting on fences, taking photos, sweating on my camera, meeting people, and just fell in love with the culture. Like, I was in Oklahoma and I saw people doing the Cupid shuffle in their boots. I saw black women riding 50 miles per hour around the barrels with acrylic nails clutching the reins and their braids blowing behind them. I'm sitting there trying to take pictures, but I also got like a smoked turkey leg in one hand, a strawberry pop in the other one, and I'm just in heaven. I love this culture. And I got obsessed with it, and I went from rodeo to rodeo for a decade. And just looking at all of these events, I got it in my head. I was like, I think I can do one of these. I think I can do it, and I think I can do it a little bit better. There was a young man, a bull rider named Ouncy Mitchell, who was doing really well in bull riding, and he was achieving a lot in pro rodeo, and he was going to win the world championship, which is something that a black man hadn't done since the 80s. And he was struggling to have the money to compete in rodeo, and he was staying with people that he didn't know very well when he was on the road. And one of those people ended up shooting and killing him in 2022. And it broke my heart. It broke the whole culture's heart. And that really catalyzed me to go, like, I got to make this easier on these folks. I got to make it easier for these black cowboys to achieve what they want to achieve, and for them to get down the road and support themselves in rodeo if they've got a hoof print on their heart and that's what they want to do. And so from September of 2022, when he died, we put on the first rodeo, the first 8 Seconds rodeo, in June of 2023. So we planned it really, really fast, put it together. Most black rodeos are paying between $5,000 and $15,000 in prize money. We put down $60,000 in prize money and invited everybody that we could to come. We didn't know if anybody was going to show up. We were in a convention center. We had bleachers in there, and we ended up selling out the event about 6 days beforehand and had 25 cowboys show up. And I'll never be able to repeat an event like that. Like, the spirit of the Lord was in that room, and it was incredibly moving. We didn't have a clue what we were doing. It was way harder to execute it than I ever could have imagined, but God was on our side, and we put together something completely magical. We scaled the next year from 2,000 people to 7,200 people. We went to the hockey arena in Portland, and now we're doing 2 in 1 year, moving to Philadelphia in the Leah Center. So as long as I'm useful to folks, and, you know, I feel like I'm putting something together that's a true help and benefit to the culture, I'll keep doing this, and I'll do as many of them as I can.
I'm going to bring you into the conversation. Darrell Gardner, you're a horse trainer, and you'll be participating in the rodeo this weekend. What will you be doing?
Far as what I'll be doing is carrying the American flag. I'll be doing the tribute to our past ones, veterans, just all the active service people. And I have a demonstration I do with my horse, and it'll be a big surprise to a lot of people.
So you say you're going to be doing some tricks at the rodeo?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So I have just a quick rundown. The horse I have is a very special horse to me. I have a Mustang, American Mustang. His name is Texas. And I taught this horse a lot of stuff, and I've always had the feel and idea of the plan of what I have is something special for rodeo, for people, and just another way to honor all our lost loved ones that we have. And that's what made me want to do it. That's what made me teach him some of the things I taught him, to be able to do that and present it at a high level.
For kids who are living in Philly right now, who aren't spending their Saturdays at a stable, why should they get involved with horses?
I feel like they should, because it's something that goes beyond the horse. It's the personal connection, it's the therapy, and it's just the feel of being able to deal with an animal that you believe might can't understand you, but they do. It's just a feeling you get, and it's something you have to do to experience it. But I think horses is something that's been around our environment and society a long time, but depending on where you are and where you grow up, you don't get to experience that. So I think what Ivan is doing and what Aaron is doing, bringing these type of things to the city, inside the city, is a big deal. You know, it's a big deal for kids. It's a big deal for adults as well, because it's a lot of adults need to connect with it as well too.
We're going to get deeper into it, but before we move on, is there like etiquette that people should know about before they go to a rodeo?
Yes, dressing.
Okay.
Dressing the correct way.
What's the correct way?
It's multiple styles to it. But I think now with today, everybody's making their own way of it. And to me, kind of what I've learned along the way is just, you know, wearing jeans, nice shirt, cowboy hat. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of leave it there.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you want to look right, you know, go get your fit right and be respectful. But you know what? At the 8 Seconds Rodeo, you can come a little ratchet too. You can bring your Beyonce outfit out the closet. We're not gonna judge you. In Portland, we have people in Nikes. Like, you know, we just want you to come and enjoy it. I'll be dressed nice, you know, and the Cowboys dress right, and there's definitely decorum and tradition and a way to be respectful in this world. But, you know, come as you are and we'll change you.
Because I watched a interview you did with Forbes magazine, and you said I saw black Cowboys with Jordans on.
Yeah. I mean, before like the rodeo, people are wearing whatever. You know, people are out there in Crocs and they're out there in basketball shorts, and you know, you wear what's comfortable when you're working. But when it's time to rodeo, you know, and you're back there behind those chutes, you got to have on a long sleeve shirt. You got to have on your jeans. Your jeans have got to be creased and pressed, and you got to have on the right fit, you know. And that's beautiful that black folks show them in those places with reverence and respect that tradition.
What is a rodeo?
A rodeo is it's a sport. It's a gathering of people to enjoy events that are traditionally Western, but more than that, it's a community gathering. You know, black folks rodeo, white folks rodeo, Native Americans rodeo, Mexicans rodeo, and they all do it a little bit different. But the thing that really comes together is that people are celebrating their community, they're celebrating their culture, and they're gathering to have an absolute moment of joy. And that's the one thing that you see at every rodeo that you go to. The events might be different, you know, the timing might be different, but the thing that you do see is people really with big smiles on their faces and getting together. I think everybody can enjoy rodeo if you enjoy food, because a lot of these events are an extension of agriculture. You know, you might have to get on your horse and go rope down a calf. You might have to go wrestle a steer down. You know, anybody that's been around a bull in history has had the tendency to want to get on the back of one. And these are just like really strong parts of culture, you know, on display at this event.
And why is it called 8 Seconds?
8 Seconds is, so we had to call it something. I was going around shooting these rodeos for years, and, you know, I was flying to Oklahoma and Arizona and flying to Mississippi, and my wife was like, hey, this is getting pretty expensive. What's the plan? What are you doing? I said, well, maybe we should start an Instagram so I can put the photos somewhere. And when it came to name the Instagram, I came up with 8 Seconds. 8 seconds is a pretty general rodeo term. It's how long you have to ride a bull or a bronco to get a qualifying score. So in that interval of time, you can win some money, you can win a lot of money, or you can go home with nothing. You can get cheers from the crowd, or you could get hurt. You could die in that 8 seconds. And so the stakes couldn't be higher in that interval of time. And I thought that was a perfect name for what we were building and the pressure that I was feeling to bring something new into the world.
What are the main events?
We do bull riding, we do bareback bronco riding, and we do barrel racing. So in bull riding, you have to sit on a bull one hand on a rope, one hand in the air. And that bull is going to give you everything it can for 8 seconds. And then you get off. You have to stay on for 8 seconds to get a qualifying score. You have to get off after 8 seconds, because after that, the animal becomes fatigued, and, they have the 8 seconds rule in there to really protect the animal, is the main reason why that's in place. Back before they had 8 seconds, you would just ride until the bull fell down. And they decided that that wasn't the right way to do things, and they put this rule in place. So, it's 8 seconds, but it feels like it might as well be 8 days when you're on one of these animals. And it's really a beautiful sport, and it's beautiful to see how much the athletes put into it, and how much they, train their bodies and train their minds to execute well in that interval of time.
Who are the athletes that we'll see October 11th?
We have about 25 athletes coming from around the country. We have Amber Perez coming from right here in Philadelphia. She's an extraordinary barrel racer who's a good friend of Aaron Brown's and has achieved a lot in the sport. We have barrel racers coming from Oklahoma. We have some as young as 12, like Amora Lindsay coming from Oklahoma. We have riders in their 60s that are coming to compete.
When we come back, we'll talk about the story behind the 2020 movie Concrete Cowboy, starring Idris Elba, which is based on the Black Cowboys of Fletcher Street in North Philly. It sounds like there's also an ecosystem of Black entrepreneurship woven into all of this.
Yes. So, Concrete Cowboy, the person who was responsible for the movie, he was one of my boarders on Fletcher Street. And he had this vision of course, Concrete Cowboy, and also a nonprofit for inner city youth to preserve our culture and history, because the stables are going now to redevelopment, gentrification. So Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy was his thing. So a month before filming the movie, he was murdered. So I stepped up and took over.
His name was Eric Miller?
Yes.
Tell me about Eric.
Whew. So I grew up on Fletcher Street. Fletcher Street back then was built maybe like 5 or 6 different barns on one street, different communities, different people, different vibes. It was like, it's like different gangs, but on the same street, if you will. Eric, when I was in high school, he spent a lot of time in jail. So when I was in high school, I remember him pulling up with this Cadillac truck, and he got out with this long mink coat on, and he looked expensive. He did have horses. He had maybe 30 at one time, but he employed everyone from the Fletcher Street community. So everyone was on his payroll some kind of way. Either you're exercising horses, you're taking care of horses, the whole nine. But he liked the community aspect of it, where we were all coming together, where his thing was race horses. So they were all on the bush track. They would travel up and down the road to race. So Eric got locked up when I was in high school, and then maybe 2016, I was still managing the barns on Fletcher Street, and he came home. And, he walked up to my truck, and I said, "Hey, E," and he smiled, and he gave me a knot of money. And I said, "What is this?" And he said, "I pay my rent in advance." So he paid his rent for a few horses for a few months in advance. And I said, "E, I need an oil change." So he just threw me a knot of money. He said, "Go get an oil change." I'm like, okay, I like this. And then we started having conversations. He was trying to sell me a horse, and it was a cute horse. And I said, "No, not my thing. I'll sell her for you, though." And he said, "Okay." I said, "How much do you want?" And he told me he wanted $2,600 or something like that. I sold the horse for $8,500. And he said, "How much you sell her for?" I said, $8,500. And he wanted more money. I said, you told me what you wanted, so I gave you what you wanted. And we built a relationship. He would buy horses, I would do the training rides, and we would flip them. We developed this big brother, a little sister relationship for a few years. And he told me that he was doing a movie. And I'm like, okay. And he said, Idris Elba is going to be in my movie.
Did you believe him?
I did not.
Okay.
But this is how he used to talk. So he comes up to me and he FaceTimes me, or he shows me his FaceTime, and he's talking to Idris Elba. And they're talking about this movie. So he never showed me the script because it was this big secret. And so he would give me bits and pieces. And he introduced me to the filmmakers. And then it was real quick. You know, he started talking about the movie, and then I remember getting the phone call that he was killed. So I had to reach out to the filmmakers. They were in California, to let them know, and they immediately flew up here. And they were like, well, how are we going to get this movie done? I said, well, I'm not E, because E had the power to get this whole city together. But if you want it to be successful, you work within this community first before you hire anyone outside. And so that's what they did. But E is one of a kind.
How did you get the name Concrete Cowgirl?
So back to E. There's rodeos that would happen in Maryland and everywhere else, and you would see representation from different cities and states, but never nothing from Philly. So there was a few of us that can, really ride in Philly, a few girls, but not many. So there was a group of girls that used to come to Fletcher Street, and I told E, I said, I'm gonna do a rodeo team. And he said, okay, I'm gonna call them the Concrete Cowgirls. And he said, okay. So they would come to the barn after school and stuff, but I kept the name for myself because I was just getting into the world level shows, and I wanted other black and brown women to know that just because you're a city girl, you can live in this cowgirl world too. So it was the Concrete Cowgirl, city girl living in a cowgirl world. And the name stuck. So then the movie came out, but the movie was Ghetto Cowboy. They changed the name 2 weeks before filming because so many people from the horse community in Philly didn't like Ghetto Cowboy. They didn't like that representation of being called ghetto. So they changed it to Concrete Cowboy. So I'm like, I'm going to make this word concrete really work now. Now that we have this movie, I'm going to concrete everything.
So you've seen cowboy culture, black cowboy culture from other states. What's Philly's style?
We do everything like everyone else does. We just add a little hip hop to it.
Ivan, you've seen cowboy culture in so many different cities. What's unique about Philly and its cowboy culture?
Yeah, it's like Aaron said. You see people riding in just like street clothes versus like being cowboyed out, and that's different. I see people that have been there kind of bringing up young people, and there's a lot of mentorship component, which is really amazing to see. You go down to Fletcher Street, and me as an outsider, I'm like, am I safe? Like, is this cool? Like, you look up at the power lines and there's like 40 pairs of shoes up there, and you're like, I don't know this environment. But then you go, into a stable, and it's like kids in there mucking stalls and being taught what to do, and that's really extraordinary to see, brotherly love at work in that way. But yeah, it's gritty, it's honest, it's Philly through and through. There's just horses involved.
Aaron, what do black cowboys in Philadelphia need?
We need a revamp. We need community. We need a reason to come back together. There's the generations that raised myself and my peers, they're all gone. So we need something that's powerful enough to unite what's left. That's what I believe.
Is that what 8 Seconds is going to do?
That's the vision, is to, we're bringing bulls down Broad Street. We're bringing 40 dump trucks into the Leah Chorus Center. This is an enormous effort. And at the end of it, I'm hoping that there's some kid on the front row that's never seen a bull or never seen a cow or never seen a horse and is like, I'm curious about that. I think that's something that I want to do. They've been handed a microphone, they've been handed a basketball, but have they been handed a pair of reins? And I want to see what they do with it, right? We really, really value opening people's eyes and exposing them to the culture for the first time through the rodeo.
And one thing I've always wanted to do is, I grew up competing, but I would always look in these quarter horse journals and wish for those types of horses. So we could only do what we could afford. We could only buy what we afford. So now we have these horses that are taken to their top level by a Black woman, and they're breeding to the world and making horses for these same types of horses I've dreamt about for kids, so they can all go to these shows with these horses. They'll now have these opportunities that my generation didn't have growing up. And all of the horses that are bred at home have concrete in their registered name. So not only is it going to be a Black kid from Philly showing on a professional circuit, but they're also showing with a horse that was bred and raised at home in the hood.
How many horses are in the stables?
There's 10 here. We have 16 total.
So Duke is here chewing up my chair.
Yes, he is. Duke is going to be his first foal crop gets, they'll be born 2026, between February and March. So, and that's another thing within our culture. There are no Black breeders.
And that's what you do.
That are breeding world-class stock on a professional level. So I wanted to make all of these things possible, and I wanted our people to be able to come breed to quality and, know that no one's taking advantage of you. And right, Dookie?
Duke is nodding his head up and down, sticking out his tongue and showing us his teeth.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for joining me on CityCast Philly today.
Thank you for having us. This has been great.
Absolutely. This was a blast. Thank you.
And thank you guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
You can find more about the 8 Seconds Rodeo, the Philadelphia Riding Academy, and so much more by clicking the links in the show notes. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you enjoyed this episode, tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.